the schwa. The unassumed, they're simply just not specified for what it is. And it causes a lot of problems. And more importantly, it kind of separates the native speaker from the non-native speaker. And as you'll see in this help video, there are certain things that I've broken down, I've categorized, and looked at it from a different perspective, more of a problem solver. Why? Well, obviously we're not teaching it correctly in schools, and it's overpassed, and it's one of those things where we just need to know better. But it's everywhere. We have 44 sounds in English, and most people rank the schwa very low, non-native speakers. But in fact, it's by far the number one sound in English. All right, so let's dive in a little bit deeper. What are the challenges and errors? Well, the non-native speaker is going to be talking flat and boring. Native speakers will be going through a wave. We're not a tonal language, but it's a rhythmic language. We're using those tones for a reason. So what happens in oral fluency, non-natives can be quite good. They can read, they can write, and it's acceptable. It's when they have to present it is the problem. So what's happened is they're using some phonics, usually primary simple phonics, to build words. All right, and that's just not going to work. Remember, English is about rules, but exceptions. Right? They have little or no awareness of this schwa. Really, I've asked so many people on there, no clue. And that's of all ages. All right, pronunciation errors. These are happening because of the schwa and the phonics. Hard to spell words. They can do it because they learned it, but they just simply can't pronounce it. Right? A lot of times it's simplified vocabulary. They're not diving into more complex words. They're not hearing it because they're not aware. You're not looking for it. You're not aware of the patterns of where it exists. Right? So again, it comes back to phonic awareness. And then there's confusion in dialect. Most obvious being American English, but we have what's called the IPA phonics, but not really. There's nobody who speaks that way unless they've studied the dictionary, and those typically are people from Nigeria, from my experience, and they're good at IPA. All right, so first one we'll look at is American versus British. To get a lot more information on this, I recommend going to the dictionary and looking at these words. I will tend to speak more of the North American because I've had influence, but sometimes I throw in an English one because my parents were English, I was English, but my accent changed at a young age, right? So, strawberry, that's English. But the Americans, strawberry. So they're putting the emphasis on the back, right? So it's very different. What happens with the Americans is they're putting a stress on the R. So they're pronouncing the R in there. The British strawberry, we're not emphasizing that R. Now, you will see some symbols at the bottom of the screen, and they're going to be important going forward. We're going to be breaking this down into nouns, adjectives, verbs, and adverbs, right? I have a code there for colors so you can see the code as far as different colors. That's not as important. In this presentation, it's very important for your types of word. Okay? So let's first look at the unstressed syllable, right? So these are words that have high use, they have little meaning, all right? But we don't stress it. So if you look, for instance, I'm going to read the sentences. I need a drink. So I don't need a drink. I don't need a drink. It's I need a drink. He has an ox. He has an ox. It was black and white. It's not black and white. It's black and white. She is as smart as ever. feel right at home. He tried but quit. We can eat now. How does he know you? This gift is for you. She's from Hong Kong. A cup of water. 6 or 7. The flight that I took. The day is long. I'm going to Thailand. Mum was late. Your turn. So one what you can see here is of and for is a lot of confusion. And that might be because people aren't hearing enough because we're schwaing the word. We're not putting the emphasis on. So as you can see, this is a lot of information, but a small amount of, a small sound. We're not stressing those parts. All right, next part, 2-syllable words. Now, this is interesting because here we have noun, adjective, and verb. And so, present, present, present. So the verb, we're emphasizing the last syllable. The other two, we're putting our stress on the first syllable, right? So it's telling us, even though it's the same word, we have something that's different. Okay? Now let's look at the next. What are we looking at now? So here's some more examples. Now, so 2-syllable, lunar, meaning the moon. Lunar, luna, not lunar, right? Lunar. This one's very common with the 3 syllables. Typically, we're going to find that the middle syllable, if it's one vowel, just a single vowel by itself, we're going to schwa it. Remember, a schwa can be A, E, I, O, U, and Y, right? So what we have here is usually the animal is the antelope. Antelope. Can you think of any words? You should add to our list. But there are exceptions. There are cases where the 3-syllable, it could be anywhere. Okay, but primarily with one in the middle, it's an indicator that that's a standard. 4 syllables, it's gonna be all over the place. All right, so with the 4 syllables, you really need to look at the dictionary. And what are we looking for? The upside down back to front E. All right, now the next one. Oh boy, this one's interesting because not even the dictionary puts the schwa on these words, but it has to be there because we have words like apple. Now, how many syllables is that? That is 2 syllables. Now, when we have a 2-syllable word, we must have 2 vowel sounds, right? So what happens here, if we listen, apple, there's the schwa. And this causes lots of problems with spelling because we hear the and we think that must be ER. So it's apple. So yes, be aware. In this case, we need an E after the EL. It's a phonic rule. And so therefore, we have a silent E, but it's going to be playing as a schwa in front of the L. Yeah, that's complex, isn't it? That's just English. We're following the rules, but making new rules up on the way, right? And so these words, I'm sure many of you know. Apple, beetle, bottle, bubble, candle, circle, cradle, crumble, giggle, juggle, little, mumble, noodles, poodle, purple, simple, sparkle, table, little, turtle. And those are many of the words. All right. And the next one, it follows a similar rule, but in this case, we do have an E that's in there, but it's not stressed. So the N is heard much more, right? And so we actually have 2 back-to-back here that are going to be very similar, okay? And so what we have here is brighten, darken, fasten, frozen, golden, happen, loosen, open, sharpen, soften, taken, thicken, listen, often, widen. All right, so that really helps, doesn't it? Now, we have another one that's very, very similar, right? It's not en, it's on. And so, for instance, it has exactly the same situation as the en, all right? So the words here would be beacon, button, canyon, common, cotton, dragon, lemon, lesson, pardon, reason, season, wagon. All right, now we get into the fun stuff. So a lot of these words are suffixes. And what's happening is the suffix itself has a sound, the schwa sound. So if we look at, for instance, so deeper, faster, wider, they're all adjectives. And so the is not the long it's the phonic All right? Let's look at a few more here. But can also be a noun. But if you remember, the adjective and the noun typically have the same at the end. So let's look at dangerous. Right? So dangerous. Dangerous. Can you hear it? So it's dropping off. And so that's an adjective. And so when we start seeing these words as well, if we know that the OUS is an adjective, not only are we going to be able to pronounce it better, but we're going to understand that's an adjective. It's describing something, right? And usually we can tell because it's in front of a noun, right? English is a puzzle. It's a big jigsaw puzzle. The problem is we always overtalk it. We're not letting it fall, the pieces fall into place. Then it's explainable. We understand it, right? So for instance, the ing. Now, ing is ing, talking. It doesn't drop. Yes, these ones, no schwa, right? It's not going to happen. So he's the happiest he's ever been. We're not going to go the happiest. Happiest. They're not going to work, right? Baked. Again, no schwa. Okay? So all these ones, smelly, stinky, right? Not going to happen. So it's good to know what happens and what doesn't happen. That's how we grow. So how can you fix it? As we know, you can't fix it in 3 minutes. You can get an idea of what's going on, but you need a longer example like here. And so know the symbol. In the dictionary, every dictionary, the symbols are the same. It's IPA, right? And the code you're looking for is the E that's upside down and back to front. Look for that, and you know that's a schwa. This is going to help you the rhythm. It's going to learn to roller coaster. Yes, many languages like Cantonese are tonal, right? Tone. You're using tones already, but instead of a tone like this, you're using a rhythm. Spelling and pronunciation are not the same. What you're reading on a piece of paper is not the same as how you would say it. All right? So, yeah, it's a bit confusing sometimes because you're not doing that in Cantonese. Local dialects change speech. Oh, yes, they do. Even Canadians and Americans, Canadians are influenced by English spelling, some pronunciation, and much pronunciation from America. But there's still a lot that Americans don't do. So you see a lot of things that they go woof because they're over-pronouncing the roof. Right? So they do things that are different. And in England, each area, there's a lot of changes. Right? Knowing your suffixes will help. Right? It builds your vocabulary, but it also builds your pronunciation, your ability to understand quickly what's going on, how to say it. It all becomes natural. This is why I do what I do. It's about solving problems to show you that yes, there's a pattern here. There's something we can do. It's not unachievable. Hack the language. Don't memorize it. The more you memorize, the more you're going to frustrate yourself. If you know something, you become a master because you understand the rules. And remember, English is about rules and exceptions. Now I have a little bit of homework for you. I've created, there's some sentences here that are very much in phonic, and you can practice, right? So let's me give you an example first, all right? The words that are in dark blue are all Schwa words. The lovely honeybees hummed under the summer sun. In the 60s, Chuck had a Volkswagen called a love bug. He strums with his thumb. Don't fuss about the buttons on the bottles. But that nutter is my lucky nutter. Much of the flood comes from under the hutch. She shuns guns. The butter melted in the sun. My brother and mother shut the door to the bunny hutch. Up the bluff, Bud runs above with the cup of love. All right, that wraps up our session. Please record yourself, come back, listen to it. All right. Yes, I'm available for private tutors, mentoring and tutoring to help you and your child out. Love to help. Send me a note. All right. Remember, subscribe, share, and like the video. I know these are not typical Instagram videos or YouTube, but it's here to help the people of Hong Kong, and sharing is caring. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next session.